Anthony Richardson has been named the Colts preseason starter. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Colts, your daily Indianapolis Colts podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you all for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. It's your daily podcast covering your Indianapolis Colts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com or find them in the App Store to sign up with the promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get your first deposit doubled up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com, our friendly sponsor of today's show. I am Zach Hicks, your boots on the ground for this week here in Indianapolis. Joining me today is Horseshoe Huddle's real boots on the ground, Jake Arthur, and one of my many roommates this week. one of my many roommates. Definitely the well, I would say Alex is great, but Ellie is definitely the
she's the most demanding.
the most demanding one, for sure. There on today's show, guys, we're going to talk about today's practice. Get into all the weeds and all the fun stuff that happened today's practice. Is very short practice here. And then our second segment, we're going to dive into who we want to see most this weekend. And then obviously to end it off, we're going to talk some of your guys' questions. If you guys think the audio sounds a little weird at all, we are, again, in the same room right now for all of you audio people. So please let us know in the comments section if we sound a little different or anything like that. But some news and notes before we get into today's practice. Kareem Hunt did visit the Colts this week. He left without a deal. Apparently, he's looking for even more money than what the Colts were offering, which apparently they were offering even more than the Saints. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. They did make two signings, though. Jason Huntley, running back that used to play for the Philadelphia Eagles, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I think he was at New Mexico in college. And then veteran tight end Ricky Seals-Jones, just adding to the 400 tight ends that they have currently in camp. They waived tight end LaMichael Petway and safety Michael Tutsi and corresponding moves there. So yeah, those two are currently out. They still have like 10 tight ends though, even despite waiving LaMichael Petway. Some news and notes from practice today. There was like 15 guys that were out. So
it was a laundry list.
Yeah, like a legitimate laundry list, like a CBS list of injured guys today.
Yeah.
It was a ton of dudes out, so just listing them all off would be a little too crazy here. Defensive tackle McTelvin Agim did go down with an ankle injury. He did return to practice, but he had to get it taped up. And then running back Kenyon Drake also left practice with an injury at the end of the day as well. So, yeah, this team's a little banged up right now, but yeah, you know how it is.
Kind of to be expected this time going into their first game. Anyone with any nicks and bruises that they don't want to exacerbate things is probably not going to play in the preseason, at least not this game. So we'll see if they get back next week.
Yeah, for sure. I think our biggest thing we got to talk about today, and again, this was a 1 hour practice, no pads. So take everything we say about today's practice with a little grain of salt, but not the best day from the Colts two quarterbacks. I know you have the exact number, so I'll kick it to you in a second, Jake. Mm-hmm. But Anthony Richardson was a little bit erratic, to say the least.
You could say.
He did have a really, really nice vertical throw to Alec Pierce late in practice in 11-on-11s where Pierce went up, contorted his body, and made an Alec Pierce type catch down the sideline. But outside of that, the quarterbacks, both of them, I mean, Minshew was a little more accurate, but he just, he did his practice thing.
Dink and dunk patrol.
Dink and dunk. But yeah, you have some of the numbers on the quarterbacks just to kind of illustrate how it wasn't great, right?
Yeah, so Anthony was 5 of 12 on the day. So that's like 42%. Obviously not great. Again, highlighted by the downfield back shoulder throw to Alec Pierce late in practice. That was a good one. And 7-on-7s, he did find Michael Pittman Jr. in the back of the end zone for a score from like 15, 20 yards out. So that was nice. But overall, the accuracy wasn't there. It was floating things, a couple throws behind guys. So that was kind of footwork stuff. If you don't plant those feet and you're kind of throwing back off balance, it's going to sail on you. So kind of some things to just kind of ground himself a little bit. All very correctable, not really concerning. That's been kind of the path he's followed in camp, is a couple good days, a couple iffy days, and then a couple good days again. So he's probably due for a decent performance on Saturday against the Bills.
Yeah, I'm going to hang my hat on, his worst days from what I've been seeing are the days without the full pads. The days with the full pads is where he feels fine and he's been able to roll a little bit. So hopefully that trend continues throughout the whole season. I don't care if he misses every single pass in practice as long as he's completing them in the game. So we'll definitely see what happens this Saturday. He was named the starting quarterback for this preseason game against the Buffalo Bills. So I don't think that means too much for the regular season starting job, but it's something. I'm assuming Gardner Minshew will get the second game to start in that one. I think against the Bears. I think he'll start that game, but We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. Overall, great day for the defense today, though. A couple standouts I had jotted down were obviously Dio Adangbo, Jannard Avery. Again, no pads, so it's the defensive line's going to win against the offensive line more often than not. But Dio Adangbo was constantly in the backfield, just driving Bernard Ryman back in the quarterback's lap throughout the whole thing. And then Dallas Flowers at corner. I thought he was the big standout at corner today. It seemed like everyone else, again, it was just kind of the quarterback's more missing than anything. But Flowers did make like 2 or 3 pass breakups from what I saw. Did you catch anything from the defense that stood out besides those?
No, it's pretty much those guys is how I'd have it. Dio was just constantly kind of putting the pressure on Bernard Ryman, which again, they weren't in pads. So it's like the legal holding that offensive lineman can get away with wasn't a thing. And that's kind of disadvantage offensive line all around. But yeah, Jannard Avery had a nice little would-be sack against Richardson. A rarity where they just blow the play dead. Like they normally let the offense play through that. They let Anthony roll out and find something downfield. That play was dead on arrival. So nice play by Jannard Avery there. Let's see. I think Titus Leo, I noticed he was coached up a little bit by some of his teammates, which I always love to see. I saw Tyquan Lewis working with him in particular. I just really like watching the veterans kind of get hands-on with the rookies and the young guys to help them out a bit. So
yeah, for sure. And then going back to offense again, really rough day overall for the entire offense. I didn't see many standouts, but
not even many big runs either.
No, not many big runs, but I thought Alec Pierce and Josh Downs have both had really good days. Obviously, Pierce has been a standout in camp so far. He did have a drop today on like a dig route, I believe, with the first series of 11-on-11s, but had a couple other catches, including that vertical shot down the field. He's just been great. Like it's really, really good to see. I was making a joke that he just looks so much more muscular this year. Like, I don't know, like he might have gained weight, but if he gained weight at all, it's more through muscle than anything from last year.
No, he's filled out a little bit. That frame was real wiry when he came in from Cincinnati. He's getting to where he's getting more of an NFL receiver frame now.
Yeah, and then Josh Downs looked night and day like the best slot receiver on the team. And not that Isaiah McKenzie had a bad day or anything, but it's just Josh Downs moves at like a different pace.
Yeah.
Like a much different pace, and he's so much more compact and physical. Even in the days where there's no pads like today, you could really see he's just more like filled out, more built than Isaiah McKenzie. And you could tell that he's just more explosive after the catch as well. So Josh Downs had a ton of catches today, didn't he?
Yeah, that guy is smooth. I think he had 4 from Gardner Minshew, I think, today, just in 11-on-11s. So a lot of work from him. I know our colleague Drake Wally from Horseshoe Huddle was really impressed. He wrote about Josh Downs after practice today and how he's really kind of making a case to get that starting slot receiver role. So no, Downs was really impressive. He's someone that obviously Gardner Minshew feels very comfortable targeting at all times. And this wasn't the only practice where he had at least a few catches from Minshew.
Yeah. No, I think unlike Richardson, I think has a good chance of starting week 1. But I think Josh Downs is going to be a little bit slower before they get him the full-time starting slot snaps. But I do think it's ultimately just a matter of time. Like, they'll probably get him in there ahead of Isaiah McKenzie.
Well, it just feels inevitable because it is similar to watching Anthony versus Gardner and Josh Downs and Isaiah McKenzie. Like, the young guy just looks so much more the part or exciting with an ability to do more. Like, you just kind of see clear ceilings with the veterans there. And like you said, I just think it's a matter of time before the youth movement officially gets moving.
Yeah, for sure. Coming up, guys, we're going to talk about some players that we want to see in this preseason game kind of excel, or I'm just curious to see what they can do.
Yeah.
August is here, and you know what that means, the official start of fantasy football drafting month. Get championship ready for your home league by trying out Best Ball on Underdog Fantasy. All you do is one live snake draft, no waivers, no trades. Underdog sets your best lineup every week. Try it out with Underdog's Best Ball Mania Tournament. The largest fantasy football contest of all time is back and even bigger, with $15 million of total prizes up for grabs, including an absurd $3 million going to the winner. Last year, the winner drafted their team in July, so don't wait around. Visit underdogfantasy.com or find them in the App Store and sign up with promo code LOCKEDON to get your first deposit doubled up to $100. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code LOCKEDON. And guys, the Colts are going to be off tomorrow for travel reasons, and I'm also going to be off tomorrow for travel reasons because I'll be traveling back to Virginia. But you guys can catch us right after the Colts-Bills game on Saturday. I think they're at 1 o'clock on Saturday, right?
Yep, 1 o'clock kick.
Yeah, 1 o'clock kick. We're going to be live right after the game to talk all about Saguna Luby and other players that stood out in the game. All right, so we're diving into some players that we're excited to see. Obviously, I just made the quip.
I don't know. I'm pretty curious to see who you're interested to watch.
I obviously made my Saguna Luby quip there, which is the main reason we're tuning into Saturday. But in all seriousness, Anthony Richardson getting the start with the first team. Steichen did say that more or less, the starters are going to play the whole first quarter or just play a quarter.
Yeah,
case
by case basis.
Yeah, I'm assuming guys like Quentin Nelson and stuff might only play like a series or two.
Yeah.
But I do think we're going to see a player like Anthony Richardson out there for a minute. I'm just excited to see him in his first NFL action. Like, I know it's going to be pretty watered down, and I know that they're not going to run him too much, but it's our first time seeing our franchise quarterback in a Colts uniform on game day.
Mm-hmm.
That's exciting. No matter what the context is, it's exciting.
It is. It's something new, and it's in more of an official game capacity. The Bills should also have a pretty good defense. They have some exciting young players on that front. Boogie Basham, Greg Russo. Like, I'm excited to see Anthony under pressure, to see, sure, he's probably going to run a couple times. We'll see how that goes. But what does it look like him passing under pressure, under duress? Does he make any of those kind of incredible throws we're used to seeing from him?
Jake, you're saying that you want to see him under pressure. That means
I don't want to see him get hit too much, but like, I want to see him. I don't want to just be a clean pocket constantly. What does that show you?
I want to see a clean pocket constantly. We didn't see many at all last year.
Well, I'm just used to being in the mud. I don't know.
Come on, man. We had so many non-clean pockets. I even put in my notes here for the O-line not to suck is one of my biggest things I want to watch.
They cannot suck, but also pressure can happen occasionally. No pressure, no diamonds.
Oh, man. No, I want to see the O-line kind of have a pretty good game. I don't think Braden Smith we're going to see this weekend.
No.
I don't expect Quentin Nelson to play too much or Ryan Kelly to play too much. So
I would put Ryman, Fries, and Freeland out there for sure.
Yeah, no, they're going to be out there for a minute. They'll at least be out there for the whole first quarter.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think we're going to see many of the veterans the whole time. But still, I want to see some bounce back from these guys. I want to see Will Fries not getting beat in pass protection. I want to see Ryman holding it down on the outside. Quentin Nelson looking like Quentin Nelson, even if it's only for like 3 snaps out there.
Yeah.
I want to see this offensive line not get worked out there. That's a pretty big thing for me.
Yeah. That's obviously all we saw last year. And it's just preseason, but to the Colts' benefit, to give them the benefit of the doubt, hopefully. In the second half of last season, the offensive line obviously was improved. Bernard Ryman improved. Rookie Will Fries, second-year guy, he improved. Even the veterans kind of got their act together a bit. The Colts are putting a lot at stake on these guys still being good, the starting 5 being good this year. So for the love of God, let's see something. Let's see a stout. So we want to get some running lanes, a little push in the first level, some open lanes, a little bit of pressure, not a lot.
No pressure.
All right. I don't know what era of ball you think this is, but there's going to be some pressure.
That's true. But talk about some running lanes. Let's just see if any of these 20 just obscure backs that they have in camp right now can actually do anything in a preseason game. Because I think the guys that we're going into this preseason game with, and this is counting Kenyon Drake now, probably being out. We're talking about a 30-year-old running back who just got hurt in practice, so he's probably not playing in this game.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get Evan Hull, Jake Funk, Jason Huntley.
Not even Xavier Scott.
No, and that's it. I think it's just going to be those three. I mean, maybe Xavier Scott's feeling a little better come weekend, but
welcome Toriano Clinton back to the show because they're probably going to have to keep his number on speed dial.
Yeah, they're probably going to have to give him a contract or just rebring him back because they just need another
keep him on retainer? Like he's not always on the roster, but like he has a designated practice squad spot.
Right. But hey, at least Evan Hull's healthy right now, so we'll be able to see him a little bit out there. I want to see Evan Hull working with the first team and how he looks with those guys. So just any of these running backs to do something positive. I mean, I know, again, most of them are hurt right now, but let's see if any of these guys behind them can actually do something.
Yeah, it's Hull hype season. Like this guy's going to get a lot of work because he has to. I imagine they probably have to re-sign someone tomorrow or this afternoon. Makes a lot of sense to be Clinton. So yeah, just literally for the sake of not having enough healthy bodies, they're going to have to bring someone in. But we're sure going to see what Jake Funk and Evan Hull have to offer.
Yep. And then two more notes I had here. Bottom of the roster wide receivers. I don't think there's really been any separation whatsoever down there. Like Vincent Smith's had some good days, but again, he's like a 27-year-old receiver. Like I don't know if the team's really going to value that. Outside of the top 5 guys, and that's with Isaiah McKenzie or Ashley Dooling being the 5th guy, I don't know if they keep 6. So will we have a Mike Strawn, Desmond Patman type preseason by some of these guys to earn that last roster spot, or will the Colts go into the season with 5? Because as of right now, I don't think there is 6 receivers worth keeping on this roster.
No, I mean, Mike Strawn's going to show out. That's just what he does. He's going to make a couple nice plays. You got to see, maybe Juwan Winfrey. He hasn't had a spectacular camp, but I think he's been steady. I can't really recall many drops. I think he's a good route runner. Cody Case has done some nice things. So while I don't really anticipate either of those guys doing something to earn a roster spot, like they could maybe separate themselves from like Malik Turner and, just the guys who are there at the bottom. Rashad Perriman is an obvious option as well as a veteran who's been there, done that, has a vertical aspect to his game as well. So we'll see. There's a few guys that could do it. We just haven't really seen it yet.
Yeah, and the last thing I'm excited to look at is just these young corners in action because we've seen them in practices and we've seen them so far in camp, and the returns haven't really been that bad. Like Darrell Baker Jr.'s had a really strong camp, and yes, he's been beat sometimes, but I really do think he's competing really well out there. Dallas Flowers just had his best practice. Juju Brents and Darius Rush are competitive on every single snap. Jalen Jones has had a really good preseason or practice session so far. So I'm excited to see these young guys out there against different wide receivers and just see if they can continue stacking those days and having good performances against other wide receivers. Because if they come out here and get lit up by the Bills backups, then we can be a little more concerned with going into the regular season. But I'm excited for them. I think they all have really good potential. I'm sure we'll see a couple penalties though on them out there, but I'm excited to see these young corners that have been playing fairly well in camp get out there against some other wide receivers.
Yeah, and last year I think the Bills were the first preseason game as well, and it kind of was a little dose of reality because you thought the Colts were one thing, and then some of their receivers, I think went out there and just kind of hit a wall against those defenders, and it could be the other way around this time. The Colts have some exciting young cornerbacks. Maybe they make things difficult for the Bills receivers. Stephon Diggs not included.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's really a chance to see what we've got. And we've seen around the NFL, young corners who weren't first rounders do really well. Like Tariq Woolen comes to mind. I mean, it's an outlier, of course, that shouldn't be the expectation, but Juju Brents is a 2nd round pick. He could do really well. Darius Rush has had a phenomenal offseason. Like he's had a pretty good camp, but like was really, really good during the spring. So the Colts have some guys that can do it. I mean, they really need a few guys to step up so we can see some definition to the step chart or to really shore that up. But I think those guys could be up for the challenge.
Yeah. I'm just excited to see them out there in a real game setting and just see how they, like you said, pressure causes diamonds or creates diamonds or whatever. I want to see if any of these guys can be diamonds or if they're just going to melt away into dust out there. But coming up, we're going to switch over to some of your guys' fan questions and go through what you guys want us to talk about from Colts training camp. All right, so we had a comment before we even started streaming. That's going to be a quick one here about Rigoberto Sanchez. Hasn't been back practicing and healthy after his injury last year. He's had a really rough go of it the last 2 years, but I have seen him out there every day. I mean, has he been out there for every single day for you?
Yeah, I mean, they don't punt every day, but he's out there participating in whatever the special teams is asked to do. So yeah, he's had his days punting. He's out there doing his thing. It doesn't look like he's going to be the kickoff guy anymore. I don't think that's anything on him. I just think that, as I told, I think Andrew today, I was like, Matt Gay is an absolute unit. Like, this dude can kick a freaking football. So, I mean, that will ease Rigoberto's workload a little bit. But no, he's been out there. He's looked perfectly fine.
That's good. That's good. Now we got a question for me about my tweet about the pistol formation being involved this year. Anything you can go in detail about pistol. So I'll try to keep this fairly contained here on the podcast. But pistol formation is basically like a hybrid shotgun and under center formation where the quarterback is in the gun, but they're only like 3 yards behind the center rather than being back like the 5 to 6 to 7 yards that you would be in typical shotgun formation. The advantages to pistol are you're basically running a single back offense like you would under center, but your quarterback is already in the gun. That kind of eases up their reads, eases up their footwork, eases up their timing, makes stuff a little bit easier. Now, the biggest drawback in this set is it kind of limits your pass game. You're going to do a lot of half field read stuff. You really can't get to the backside too much. But it opens up so much in the run game in terms of getting that running back that head start, running downhill, but still keeping it in the gun, doing some read option stuff, having a lead blocker if you go to an inverted wing T or like stuff like that in the pocket. So, or wishbone, inverted wishbone is what I meant to say there. So it opens up a lot in the run game. It's more of an early down set or a red zone set. But I have seen the Colts doing quite a bit of it here in training camp in my time out here. They've only been doing it with one of the quarterbacks, though, and I think I know which one.
Sam Ehlinger.
Sam Ehlinger with his 2 snaps per practice. But no, it's really mostly been Richardson in the pistol and also doing some empty stuff. So I think that they are kind of tailoring that game plan towards Richardson. He did a lot of pistol stuff at Florida last year. I think that's something he's comfortable with. So yeah, I think we can expect to see a healthy dose of pistol this season. Not like a ton or anything like that. Steichen didn't really run it too much last year with the Eagles. But if it's something that Richardson's comfortable with, I think we'll see it. And there's some pros and cons to it. Again, it limits the pass game a little bit. It accentuates the run game. It's not really there to be this dynamic passing option or passing threat, but it opens up a lot in the read option, the QB run game, which the Colts obviously want to do with Anthony Richardson. Yeah. So I don't think we'll see it much this weekend, but I think once the regular season comes around and Richardson's starting, I do think we're going to get a good amount of pistol. And pistol, as a lot of people say, it is God's offense there. That's what it is.
Do they say that?
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah, a lot of people. All the people. All the people are saying it's God offense. Techno Gamer 16. Who are some depth wide receivers you think will pop out in the Bills game with Anthony Richardson as a starter, like Strawn or Smith? I think you have an answer to this one.
Are you going to make me put the Cody Case out there?
No, I was going to say Vincent Smith. You've been saying Vincent Smith with Anthony Richardson. It's been great.
Vincent Smith has really good chemistry with Anthony Richardson so far, and they try to connect on big plays together a lot. Like whenever Anthony's looking downfield and Vincent Smith is on the field, that's probably his read. So keep an eye on that. I don't know if that's going to come to fruition with a roster spot, but I'd be pretty surprised if Anthony doesn't find Smith for some sort of chunk play or 3 during the preseason.
Yeah. I had another pistol formation question here. Have you seen Steichen use more pistol forms in his history? Makes sense for guys like Hurts and Richardson, so I wonder if you charted it all. I do have somebody who has charted a lot of the Eagles' work out of the gun last year. He said there was less than a dozen pistol uses last year, but they wanted Hurts to do more full field reads and more of a typical passing offense last year. So I think I'd have to go back to 2021 and chart some of that to see some of his pistol usage. But I think mainly when it comes to Steichen wanting to use it with Richardson, it's more of him looking at that Florida tape and trying to bring some of the Florida things that Richardson did well to the NFL. So I think that's where we really want to look if we want to look at how it can project to the NFL level here with the Colts. Zach, do you see the Colts using 2 back sets, especially with a fullback? Do you think one of the tight ends will grab that role? I don't think there's any running back on the roster that could be a fullback.
I think they would be more inclined to use Kylan Granson as an H-back.
Right.
How we might see that done.
Yeah, H-back or the sniffer back. They'll have him kind of in the backfield a little bit there.
Sniffer?
It's called a sniffer back. Again, I don't want to go on too many tangents on this. That you're not even being able a chance to talk here because you guys are all asking me nerd stuff in this last segment. But I can go into all sniffer backs at some point. That's actually what the Colts used a lot of back in 2018 with Tom Manning. So maybe that's kind of bringing that back in here. Mm-hmm. But anyway, getting away from sniffer backs and stuff. If they do some 2-back sets, you could see like pistol formation, have Zach Moss next to Anthony Richardson. And if Jonathan Taylor does play this year as the back behind, and you could do some triple option type stuff with that there, which would be really cool. So yeah, you could see some 2-back sets this year. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. We got Rich Wheeler asking us the question we all want to hear here. Should we sign another vet injury prone running back for the 4th day running, or just roll with Evan Hull, who apparently cannot get hurt? What do you think, Jake?
Evan Hull, that's my guy so far. I mean, around the league, you see 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th undrafted round free agents as rookies make an impact. And Evan Hull is he super consistent running between the tackles? No, but like we've seen him turn a corner and pick up big yards. He catches almost everything. We got to see how he is in pass protection. But man, at this point, guys are dropping like flies. So you need bodies as insurance, but I'm pretty fine with going with Evan Hull because Zach Moss isn't really going to miss a lot of time at the beginning of the regular season. If he hits the 6-week threshold, that's only a couple days after their week 1 game. So as long as he's not like an incredibly slow healer, Moss will be back sooner rather than later.
Yeah, for sure. And then we got Adam Jamison here. Are we finally going to see more 13 personnel take advantage of those mismatches the tight ends provide? Now, I do want to stipulate that 13 personnel typically is not a throwing like personnel group unless I guess if you have Grandson in the slot and then you have 2 tight ends in line like a Farrell Brown and a Jelani Woods and Drew Ogletree, then you could count that technically as 13 personnel, even though Granson's out in the slot. Yeah. So it's a fake 13 personnel, I guess. But if you're talking true 13 personnel where all the guys are on the line of scrimmage, you're typically not throwing out of that. But we could see more 13 personnel. I know when Tom Manning was offensive coordinator with Iowa State, they did run a lot of 13 personnel. They had some really good tight ends there. I believe they had that really athletic dude who got drafted. I want to say it was Charlie Kolar or whatever, who got drafted by the Ravens. They also had Chase Allen at tight end. They also had Dylan Sainer, I think is his name. And they used a lot of 13 personnel to take advantage of defenses. So with Tom Manning coming back, running the tight end group, and kind of being involved in Steichen's offense, we could see a good amount of 13 personnel. I don't know if we'll see it this weekend, but I think we could there. We got another question here about wide receivers. Is there any wide receiver on the market that you would like to sign? I don't have all the free agents in my head right now.
I'd have to look, but I mean, my gut tells me no, because we're just talking about potential last roster spot guys. Like we're already pretty confident in their top 5. Plus they have several tight ends who make a good argument for that. Those positions kind of play off of each other. So I would say no.
Yeah. One thing I will say is the Colts had the 4th spot in the waiver wire until I think week 3.
Yeah. So right before the beginning of the regular season, we could see something come up off the waiver wire. But right now I'm cool with them not doing anything.
Yep. And then we've got one more question in particular for me. Who's the Zach Hicks Camp Darling most likely to not make the team this year? Sadly, I think this player has played well into a spot on the team right now. And we've mentioned him a couple times already in this show. I think he should make it, but typically whenever I say some bottom of the roster linebackers should make it, they get cut. I think Segun Alubi's played really well though. Like
he hasn't killed anyone in the last few days.
But like we make jokes and stuff about Segun Alubi, but this is a smaller linebacker who's really compact, really fast, really powerful, really good special teamer too. Like I just think that he's going to be a really valuable player at the bottom of the linebacker depth chart. So I don't know if he'll get cut because it's just how these things happen, but I think Segun Alubi should make the team.
Yeah, so automatically we don't know what JoJo Doman's injury is or how long he'll be out, so that's a huge benefit for Alubi. I think he's more promising on defense than Grant Stewart is. And I think they kind of view him as this athletic, explosive ball of clay on defense.
Yeah.
So as long as he keeps getting the mental aspect of it down and being able to identify pass versus run and all that good stuff, I think he'll be fine.
Yep, definitely. And one more question here. I just wanted to touch on this real quick for Mighty Mac. He's been asking some great nerd questions in here that is going to take Jake off the podcast. Need to explain that waiver wire for us. The Colts are going to be 4th in the waiver wire until week 3 once the new standings and records are updated across the league. But until then, the Colts are 4th in the waiver wire order. So any player that's waived from their team, like in final cutdowns or something, the Colts are only behind the Bears. Who are the teams in front of Bears, Texans, and Cardinals, I believe. They'll only be behind those teams there. So they're going to have that prime waiver wire selection until week 3 of this season. So they can grab, if a good receiver gets waived from a team that's just loaded at receiver, they can grab one. And this is another one here, Patrick. Yeah.
So Stewart is pretty safe in general on the roster. Again, like you said, special teamer. But they're trying to find out who their backup Mike is right now between Doman, Stewart, and Alubi. So if Alubi makes the roster, it still will be with Stewart on it. I really don't see him getting booted off by any means.
Yep. I think that's all we have for today, guys. I know we kind of jumped around a little bit with those questions. So if you guys are listening on audio and you're like, oh my gosh, these guys are flying around, go over to our YouTube channel, give us a sub and watch you can kind of see what we were talking about. But Everydayers, again, we're going to be back here right after the game on Saturday to talk about Buffalo Bills, Indianapolis Colts, and how we watched until the end of the 4th quarter. But if you don't already, follow at Locked On Colts, at Jake Arthur FNL, and at Zach Hicks 2, all on the beautiful site that is called X. Also, subscribe to the Locked On Colts podcast on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. We'd love your guys' ratings and reviews, and we'll see you guys back here on Saturday.